2022 Ford Maverick and Ford Bronco. The farce awakens. I've covered it now twice. We're going to be talking about solutions today, so a little bit more positive. So I'm Johnny from Johnny's Car Care and Reviews, and Winston's back. Yep, that's who's back. And Marie will actually be back hopefully this weekend to announce some exciting news for the channel. Possible new direction if you all want to follow us on a bit of an adventure that we're looking into. So we'll discuss and reveal what that is when Marie-Pierre is hopefully on the show this weekend. But first, let's talk about Maverick, Bronco, and I'll even do a little quick F150 solution for just on a completely different subject. I might do some Tremor videos depending on how that poll does. But welcome to the show. Let's put the pedal to the metal and get right to discussing it. So in the last video, I had some questions about, the whole commodity mix and where can this information be found. Well, it's an internal memo. So it's an internal memo, and basically previously Wildtracks were extremely restrained. So the Bronco Wildtrack was extremely restrained, playing around 14%. The two doors were sitting around 8%, and now those two major issues are starting to get resolved because now there's a much better ratio of Broncos being built, the commodity mix you could say. There's a much better ratio going to those. But still, when you're looking at Wildtrack being around 29%, and because of all the backlog, just like there's a whole lot of backlog when it comes to hardtops. A lot of people have been waiting, unfortunately. It's really bad, but a lot of people have been waiting for 14, 15 months to get a Bronco because of the whole hardtop issue. Now that hardtops are coming in at much better numbers, so it's less constrained than it was, much less constrained than it was. However, there's a lot of backlog. There's a lot of catch up, you could say. So you could, think of this as the grocery store, and an example that was used just recently. And at a grocery store, you got, let's say you switch cashiers, and that big long line that was going really slowly because it was a new cashier. Well, now they've got the pro on the line. That line is going to move quicker, which is kind of like your commodity mix ratio going up. So the percentage is better. So it means the line for Wildtracks or two doors or anything hardtop is better. It's getting resolved, but there's still a big line of people to get through. So that's unfortunate, but there's still, this is a solutions video, so I want to stay really positive, and I'm going to be talking about, nasty paint chips and how to solve those, because we are coming into nasty paint chips season due to the back doors, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Let's finish off what a commodity mix means. It means it's what the factory is mixing together, you could say. So you have the Wildtrack going up. It's playing more around 29% instead of previously always around 15%. Two doors, 8%. The 2.7 liter EcoBoost has also gone up, but there's a big backlog. So really, one thing to consider, and I've got proof of this. We had a Sasquatch Badlands soft top go through, and this thing was ordered. I was told from the sales consultant it was either a very end of November or very early December that this thing was ordered, and it's already showed up. And that's just because there's so many people, so many of the orders in the system are for things that still have a big line. The ratios, the productions are getting much more balanced out and actually represent what we want. But we've got months and months and months, over a year of people backlogged. So if you're currently, simply put, if you're currently a Wildtrack, just consider, for example, Sasquatching a Badlands. And if you can live without the Sasquatch and just go straight up Badlands, then that should help quite a bit. Two-door, well, it's just really the whole hardtop issue that wasn't moving things ahead, and now that is going to be going much better. So not a whole lot you need to do if you're a two-door. I'd say if you're a two-door, it's going to be a wait to get through that line. Now that we've got a faster cashier, getting that line down quicker and moving things along, I don't think it's nearly as effective as, let's just say, throwing on a soft top. However, another vehicle that I'm going to actually show to the side here, that was ordered in November, and it's a hard top 2.7 liter Outer Banks, but nothing else. And because the factory had parts for that, that got moved forward and built. So all this to say, hopefully these solutions help. If you really can't live without having a Sasquatch package, and that's why you got the Wildtrack, well, if you look at it, a lot of people I think have thought when they first put in the reservation that Wildtrack was like the biggest, baddest model. But if you Sasquatch a Badlands and throw on a 2.7 liter, it ends up more expensive than a Wildtrack. So the biggest, baddest beast, I believe, is Sasquatch Badlands with 2.7. The Wildtrack just, on the list in the order looked like the biggest and baddest because it was the most expensive. That's because it comes automatically with an automatic and a 2.7 liter, whereas the Badlands price, when you look at it, comes with a 2.3 liter. So that's my advice for today. I can also say that I've been living with a soft top, and Marie's been living with a soft top, and we absolutely love it. We hope to maybe sometime soon get to put that top down. We actually did just the other day. It was just around freezing, barely below freezing, but the sun was out, so we kept our winter parkas on. She kept her toque on, and we threw down the top, and we had a little bit of fun. So that was pretty cool. Now, if you're a Maverick, if you're waiting on a Maverick, interesting news on that. The two most recent Mavericks, I'm going to be, looks like I'm going to be test driving the 2-liter turbo EcoBoost, because so far the poll says that that's what y'all want to see. And well, I want to make content that's interesting and helpful for you all. The whole goal of this channel is to be helpful. So we should be test driving that 2-liter EcoBoost, and we still have the hybrid test drive where Marie actually drives. We're going to be getting her viewpoint coming up real soon on the hybrid. But here's the thing. We've gotten two, it's very weird. We've gotten two Maverick EcoBoosts that just showed up. One has Lux package and 4K, and the other one has just 4K. And I originally thought it was a spray and bed liner, and I was like, well, that's probably part of the reason why it's a June 10th order and it never came in. And we've got this other one that is a mid to end November. The black FX4 is a mid to end November order. And it showed up actually 2 days before the June 10th gray EcoBoost order. So weird, because it has a Lux package. So I was wondering what happened there. Well, the weird thing is they both have plastic bed liners. So I think actually what happened is the one that was supposed to be made earlier, well, I know exactly what happened. I saw it on the list. It was started to get made earlier and basically stayed in production for quite a while, and it was essentially put in the parking lot. Originally thought it'd be arriving in mid-May, which would have made it really, really late, but then they saw it, probably sitting in the parking lot. They saw it in the system, and they put the chips in it, realizing that, that needed to be pushed along sooner. So if you do have your vehicle in the parking lot, unfortunately, if you see that you've been in production for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, it starts to kind of look like you're in the parking lot. They will get to you. They will get the microchips in. The air was caught. This thing did move forward, but in the meantime, an EcoBoost Lux FX4 moved forward. And the weird thing is, it might just be that, they had the parts. It's a hard one to understand, but sometimes it comes down to certain weeks. They're building certain things. And then dealer allotment itself, the ratio between what a dealer gets in regards to how many hybrids versus how many EcoBoosts that they get in a month. From one region to another region, it can be very different. So while other regions were probably, like in Kansas, they're probably throwing all sorts of hybrids at them. Well, my area up north, we got EcoBoosts, and it's probably because in advance it was maybe determined that up north more all-wheel drive EcoBoosts would be ordered and sought after. And the really weird thing is that hybrid front-wheel drive truck is even extremely popular up north, and that's really weird because 2x4 trucks have been unbelievably unpopular here since about the 90s. And who knew a front wheel drive truck, but I guess price, gas, and this thing was popular last summer when gas was half the price that it is now. And it looks like 2 weeks ago I was at the Costco, huge lines, and I was worried that, hey, gas in my area might go up to $2.25 a liter or more, and it's already playing around $1.95 per liter, so about almost 4 liters for a gallon. So if you do the math, it's a lot. Now I'm gonna need help because I'd like to know what this noise is on the Bronco. So I'm gonna play a little video here, and y'all can help me, especially the more mechanically inclined ones. Let me know what happened. I'm playing around in a bit of snow and we get this sound, so let me know, what are your thoughts here? Now back to solutions. We're going to be talking about Bronco and Maverick solutions. If you're actually way behind and you don't have the constrained issues, or even if you have the constrained issues, but you think you might be at a dealership that, for example, picked up 1,300 Bronco orders, but, they only seem to get about 10 per month. So they're getting, maybe 15 per month because they're a dealership that are only getting 100 to 150. You can actually switch dealerships. And for the Maverick gang, you can always call Ford. There's no hotline like there is for the Bronco that I know of. But, maybe if you call Ford and you say, hey, look, at my dealership, I'm thinking that they took on way more sales because when I bought, they had this promotion going on, so they drew in all sorts of people. I'm worried I'm pretty far on their list. You can always see if Ford will, swap you to a dealership that they recommend. That's relatively close enough. It's not, days away from your place. That could maybe process you a little faster because, they don't have a huge waiting list. And for the final solution of the video, let's talk about paint chips. So it's coming on to mud season, and it's also coming on to crazy slush and ice season. Up north here, we're gonna have probably 5 more snowstorms. Just this weekend, we're getting a foot of snow, and that's gonna create all sorts of slush that overnight turns to ice around the doors. Now, if you've got kids and you have to access the back doors on a Bronco, which some of you will say a 4-door Bronco isn't a real Bronco, but I beg to differ. It's a ton of fun and it looks great. But if you do need to use that second set of doors, those back doors, when you open them, the paint on your door, if it's, just barely, if you force on it and then it just kind of scrapes across the ice, it's going quite possibly to rip off your paint. And when you go to close the door and you push little ice pieces in, you might also chip the paint. So I've seen this happen a couple times, and my solution here is when you get your Bronco, don't just wrap the front of the vehicle. The whole grille in my opinion is needed. Don't just wrap the hood. I also suggest wrapping the lip, the sill, the little fold over of the back doors, the door itself. But then also on the inside, you might want to consider wrapping really the little bottom corner, so that if you do close the doors against ice, it's just going to be plastic against plastic. Get the thickest, plastic wrap you can, and I hope this helps you. Well, I know this will actually help you avoid chipping your paint, and you might probably in advance. Just the same, always good to have a little paint corrector. But I think that's going to remove that whole problem. Now, if you currently own an F-150, or if you own any other truck and you want a great truck, here's a solution, the Tremor. So the F-150 Tremor, I'm really thinking that I might jump on this and do a few videos with it. My co-host Winston just scratching away at his collar. Winston, you doing good there? You got anything to say? No, just giving me the eye? Okay. So if you've got a truck and you're thinking about trading trucks, right now your used truck has an incredible value on it. It's worth about $5,000 to $9,000 Canadian more than it normally would from previous years. I've been looking at trade values on trucks for about 10 years now. It's always something that's interested me, and I've owned quite a few trucks. So you've got money in your hands. You're probably, if you unless you paid cash, but if you leased or financed, there is some really good chances that your vehicle is worth more than what you currently owe. And if you've been finding your truck a little uncomfortable because you're not driving a Ford, that's just a joke. Rams have a very comfortable suspension, but they take less payload and they work a little, they don't work quite as hard, you could say, but comfortable suspension. But if you want your suspension to be a little more comfortable on the bumps, I highly suspect the Tremor F150 is going to be a fantastic option. I've got the Sasquatch package and I've got the Badlands package. So on the two Broncos, we have the Bilstein shocks, monotube, and they're fantastic. And I have never had something go over bumps nearly as well. So I want to be covering the Tremor more because it's got, really interesting equipment. It's got the trail control. It's got trail one pedal drive and trail turn assist. So trail control is kind of like a cruise control for low speeds when you're going off road. The one pedal is just great because you're on a hill. It's one pedal. You let go of the accelerator and it instantly brakes, and you've got trail turn assist, which is just so fun to do donuts with on loose, not on the asphalt, but snow, mud, ice, and that's just going to be great. It looks amazing, and the suspension is actually quite impressive. It's an option that goes for $6,065 if you want to have essentially an XLT 302 tremored. And if you're adding what's called a 402 Tremor, well, that's essentially like your full-out Lariat 502, but tremored. It's $13,590 as an option. But I think they're really cool options. They don't just look great. That suspension is going to have an amazing impact. However, I've already found one little key thing that is a bit of a quirk for me. They're talking about greater ground clearance because of the 33-inch wheels, and that's actually how it's written right on the website. And I put in the dimensions of the tires, and yes, they do make 33-inch tires, but so do the regular tires. When you punch in the dimensions of the regular tires off the 302 XLT or Lariat, you still end up with 33s, in both cases. So you're not going to get extra ground clearance from this. However, I do want to measure out the suspension. The back suspension does look higher up than a regular F-150, and I want to see if that's just how it was parked and how I saw it when I showed up. But I want to see if it truly does have extra ground clearance. It does have skid plates. It looks amazing. And talking about that suspension. So, Ford says it really well themselves. They say the front hub knuckles and the upper control arms are revised. That means they're beefed up. They're not going to be like the Broncos regular control arms that if you're off-roading, going with a Wildtrack 3.0 kit or which is almost having, suspension that's getting quite similar to the Bronco Raptor. The Bronco Raptor is like a 4.0 system, so definitely beefed up control arms will be good on this Tremor. And you've also got specific monotube shocks at the front and twin tube shocks at the rear. And they look good. They've got the Tremor logo. Well, who cares if they look good? I'm confident from having driven the Bronco that this is going to be a blast on, either really bad city roads, which here we've got, you can be driving around and just fall into a 4, 6, 8, or my buddy's Infinity scrapped 4 mags because he was driving on the highway and the highway had a drop in it and he destroyed his mags. Mind you, he had low profile tires. So I think this Tremor is pretty awesome. I'm even wondering if Tremor is going to, in a way, hurt sales, because I worry that with how cool the Tremor is, if a lot of people order it and, way more people order the Tremor than the commodity mix, the percentage that Ford is going to put to building these based on what they can get supplies for. I worry if there's going to be a long wait list on this and that this could actually cause Ford to lose sales the way that some people, some people are getting fed up of waiting on the Bronco and they're just canceling. And I don't suggest that. Really what I suggest is if you're tired of waiting and you do get something in the meantime, or if you have gotten something in the meantime, I hope you still have your Bronco. Order in, because when that thing does show up, what you bought that has maybe 6 months or a year, or in some cases, maybe by the time you get it, a year and a half, it might be really worth trading it in. An example, I know someone who, and I was looking at actually prices at the auction, used 1 year used Mach-E's are selling at auction for more than if you order one. And that's at auction, meaning if you sell it yourself, you can make even more, because what sells at auction for more, several $1,000s more than the price of a new, well, these vehicles are going to be resold. They're being bought by people who feel, businesses that feel they can resell these vehicles and make money on them. So I think it's going to be cool talking about the Tremor. I hope it doesn't create a huge line and, actually hurt F-150 sales. But for me, I haven't been this excited seeing an F-150 truck in quite a while. Like, I've always looked at, whether it's a Platinum or a King Ranch or, Lariat 502, and I've always said, wow, that's a solid 8.5, 9 out of 10. And now that I've seen the Tremor, I feel like now the Tremor is my new 9, and that these are somehow, because the Tremor is my new 9, that these somehow go lower in how I view them. So I'm wondering if the Tremor is going to hurt F-150 sales and profitability, because this thing is just a beast. So anyways, fill out, if you want to help out the channel, if you definitely don't want me going in the direction of the Tremor, well, fill out the poll and pick an option that's not Tremor videos. No matter what, I will get around to doing Maverick videos, live, real drives. It's just a question of whether I throw in some Tremor beforehand. Well, if you've made it this far, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate all the help from the community. If you have questions, hey, I'm here to help. I'll do my absolute best to get to your question. I wish you all more cars and more power, and wish you a fantastic week. If it's your thing, I hope you get to put the pedal to the metal as well. And don't forget, just this weekend, hopefully Marie will get to share some exciting news on the channel, and you'll get to vote to see what you think about all of it and where we go with possibly a new entire direction and project for the channel. Take care.